So here we have this Barrington Billiards air hockey table. Now this table comes in at right around $300 and it's a pretty sweet table. In this video I'm going to unbox it and put it together, and then I'll give you a closer look at it. And here's the box it came in. You can see it's a pretty big box. You are going to need 2 people to move it around. And opening the box up, there's actually a whole nother box inside of it, so they definitely took some care in packaging this thing up. Lots of packaging material as well. I'm definitely happy to see that. Anyway, right out of the box, here's everything that comes with it. Of course, there's the main air hockey table, and then over here there's the flat panels for the legs. Here's that horizontal beam that goes through the center. Of course, there's an instruction manual as well. It's a nice, easy to read instruction manual. There's also this box here, and opening this up, looks like this has all the smaller hardware pieces and accessories. Also behind the table is where you're going to find a few more parts for the legs. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this thing together, and as usual, I'm going to time it to see how long it takes. Alright, so first we're going to flip the tabletop upside down, and I'd recommend using some of the packaging material under it so you don't scratch up the top. And then we're going to attach the inside of the goal boxes. They just take a couple screws on each side into the pre-drilled holes. And then there's this second piece we're going to attach, and this takes 1 screw on each side. Then do the same exact thing with the other side. And I used a screw gun to put this thing together because it made it go a lot faster. Next we can put together the legs, and both are exactly the same. Match these 2 shorter pieces up with the grooves in the longer piece, and then screw them together using one of the long wood screws into each piece, again making sure you get them into the pre-drilled holes. Then we can attach these 2 bigger pieces here to the ends, and make sure the sides with the 3 threaded inserts are on the same ends. Anyway, these are going to take 2 screws into each piece like this, and it helps to have a bit extender. And then do the same exact thing to build the other set of legs. Now we can screw in all 4 leveling feet, and then we can drop these onto the tabletop, lining up those threaded inserts with the holes on the top. And then attach the legs with these machine screws and washers, but make sure to leave them just a little bit loose until the table is fully put together. Anyway, next we're going to slide in these flat panels to the grooves on the vertical leg pieces, and then line them up the best you can with the pre-drilled holes and screw them in. And we're just going to do the same exact thing on the other set of legs here. Also, the panels for the inside and outside of the legs are different, so make sure you put the right one on the right side. And then we can take this beam, slide it in between the legs, and screw it on from the underside just like this. And once you do that, you can go back and tighten up all of the screws. And luckily, everything on the table comes pre-wired, so all you have to do is plug in this power cord and put 3 AA batteries into this box. And then you can flip it over and it's ready to go. Also, I'd highly recommend having someone help you with this. One last thing you may need to do though is stick the felt to the pusher. Just pull the sticker off, try and get it as centered as you can, and stick it on. Alright, and there we go, it's all put together. That was a pretty straightforward assembly, and it took just about 40 minutes for me to put it together. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with the way this came out, and I also messed around with it for a little bit, and it plays pretty well, honestly, better than I thought it would. But there is one thing about it that's just a little bit annoying, so let me give you a closer look at it. Alright, so to start off, this is the 5-foot table, but there are 2 different other options you can choose. One of them's a 6-foot table, and the other is a 7-foot table. It's mostly made from this laminated MDF, but there is some plywood in here as well. The top of the table uses this sort of grayish brown wood laminate. It's nice and smooth, easy to clean if it gets dirty. And then the laminate on these legs is super cool as well. It has this sort of rough texture on it. It makes it look like it's made from concrete. I think it looks pretty cool. I also like this beam going across the center here. It's a nice touch, and it also helps make it more stable. And the table also has these plastic bumpers that will protect the corners. And as you saw in the assembly, this table has leveling feet, which is always nice to see. And this table comes with 2 pucks and 2 pushers. The top of the table here, of course, is also a laminate, and it's nice and slick as well. It's got some different prints on it, looks pretty cool. Under the table here is the fan that makes it all work, and it produces about 80 CFM. It would be better if it was a little bit more powerful because the puck does stop moving sometimes, but most of the time it works just fine and gives a nice air cushion to keep the puck moving. This air hockey table also has a pretty cool scorekeeper right over here. You just press this button to power it on, and it does some different animations and makes some different noises during gameplay to keep it interesting. But if you don't like that, then you can press this button here and that will mute it. Of course, the main purpose of it is to keep count of the score, and it works really well for that. It's super accurate. There's a sensor down inside each one of the goals, and when you pass a puck through there, it senses that and then adds a point to the scoreboard. And there's no way to cheat it because the holes are too small to put your fingers in. Also, when a puck goes into a goal, it falls down into this little holder here, and the holder has a sort of cutout in the center, so it's really easy to pick up the pucks and put them back into play. I also really like the size of these goals. There's plenty of room, so you can't cheat with the pusher. You can see even if it's in the center, there's still plenty of room to put the puck in on either side. Back to the scoreboard, there's player 1 and player 2, red and blue. It counts up to 12 points, and once someone reaches that, they win, and you can reset it by holding down this button or turning it on and off. As far as overall sturdiness, the table weighs about 100 pounds and it's really sturdy. You can see it doesn't wobble at all. Now, it's really not too big of a deal, but the small issue I have with this is that this scoreboard is not connected to the fan. You actually have to power it separately with 3 AA batteries, which isn't a big deal, but that also means that you have to plug it in every time you want to turn the fan on and off, instead of just being able to use this power button right here. Again, not a big deal at all, and that doesn't affect the play, but it just would have been a bit more convenient if the fan was hooked up to this power button. And another issue, which I didn't notice until putting a level on it, is that the tabletop is not completely flat. There's actually about an 1/8 inch dip in the center. But as I kind of mentioned, it doesn't affect the gameplay, and you really don't notice it at all. So although it would be preferable if the tabletop was completely flat, it really doesn't matter that much. And yeah, it's a really fun air hockey table. It has great gameplay. Of course, this one isn't full-sized like you'd see at an arcade, but apart from being a little bit smaller, the gameplay is basically the same. The pucks glide really nicely and bounce off the edges. They also stay on the table pretty well. You really got to hit them to make them fly off. I also really like the look of it. It's kind of modern-ish with a concrete base and the wooden top. I think they go really well together. Honestly, I'd say it's the perfect air hockey table if you're low on space or you just don't need one that's full size. And in my opinion, it's well worth the price.